Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. So before we dive into today's podcast, I just want to let you know that I am grateful and honored again to have Spotify as my sponsor for this podcast episode and future episodes. And the big question that people always ask me is, how do you get started with a podcast? Well, what I want to tell you is that there's an all-in-one place that's absolutely free, and it's called Spotify for Podcasters. And here's how it works. And this is exactly how I got started with mine. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. I started with my phone, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating it right away. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify, Apple, everywhere your podcast can be heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take your conversations with your fans to the next level, like I like to, you can do Q&A, you can do polls, and that's the best way to get people talking. And with Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads like this, podcast subscriptions, and so much more. And best of all, it's totally free, no catch. And again, I have now eclipsed 500,000 listens on this podcast. So I want to thank each and every one of you. I could not recommend this anymore. And if you are listening to this and you are ready to start your podcast, start today. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started right away. And I cannot wait to listen to yours. Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of a dual podcast episode. You know what that means.
Hello. Nancy's here.
Nancy's here, and she did her mic check right there for you. She did her hello. So her mic is working. So is mine. And that is a good thing because we have a very, very powerful message / episode / I don't know, slap in the face for some maybe today, just to kind of like wake them up, like maybe a flick in the rear.
I don't know. I mean, that's a little intense, but maybe.
Well, I mean, everyone's going to receive this in a different way. So how this topic came about. So Nancy and I just got back from a wonderful, wonderful weekend celebrating the life of Nancy's aunt. She passed away a few weeks ago, and the family put on a beautiful, beautiful weekend for friends and family. It was a celebration of life. Just so many great takeaways from the weekend, but I would say above all else, just spending time with friends and family and loved ones and just laughing, reminiscing. And it was also nice for Nancy and I to get away, and we love doing drives. Like we just love just perusing. And it was a 4.5-5 hour drive. And when we're in the car for that long, it doesn't take long for us to start brainstorming and just start going through things. And we listen to podcasts. Nancy put together a playlist, not of music. That was on the way up. She put on a playlist of podcast episodes for us on the way back, all different types of stuff. And, we were just like nodding and pausing in between and like sharing takeaways. But there was something that really stood out in this one podcast episode that we were listening to. And it had to do with, what's going on right now in entrepreneurship. And this podcast is hosted by a very, very high level coach, and he's very successful. And he says, coaches are needed, but in this episode, he was divulging into the big problem that's going on right now in entrepreneurship and people growing their business. And it's not AI. It's not technology. It's not funnels or email sequences or any of those things that kind of people put point their fingers at. It's something bigger. And I've done a lot of talking so far. And before we talk about exactly what it is, Nancy, I first want to ask you, because we both felt the same way about this podcast episode. What was it about this episode that really stuck on you, that really spurred the inspiration for us to hop on here today and do this episode?
Yeah. Well, what really spoke to me is, Scott and I obviously having multiple programs where we consult, we coach, we help business owners really make an impact and grow and build their businesses. Well, we talk about it all the time, right? We want everyone to win. We're probably like the biggest cheerleaders on the sideline, and anyone signs up for anything that we do, we really, really want to deliver the most amazing value. We want to help support people along the way. Well, the frustrating thing is no matter how much we want it, it doesn't matter, right? The client or, obviously the people that we work with who really honestly become family, they need to want it. And not only do they need to want it, they need to implement and they need to apply, the things that they're learning and that we're teaching them. And Scott and I always joke, we went through the bumps and bruises of building our business. We, really had so many times in our business where we had to go through the learning curves and we had to, we really had the ups and downs. And honestly, that's what we always tell our clients is let us go through that so that we can help you, through this and make it better and easier and a much less pain in the butt process. So we've really streamlined, obviously guiding our clients to success. And so the biggest issue, and that's really what we're zoning in and we're talking about is application. Are you actually applying the things that you're learning? Are you doing the things that you need to do to achieve your goals? Right. And I get it. Right. We live in a world where we are inundated with information. I mean, you go online and it's like, whoa. And I love, okay, the episode that we were listening to, the quote, and again, I'll see if I can find this and I'll share it in the chat notes. They basically said it's never been a knowledge problem, right? We have all the information at our fingertips. It's not like you can't search. And nowadays, even with AI and, so many other programs, it's not like you can't find the information that you're looking for. You want to grow and build a business. Of course, you guys have the resources. You're able to find that information. The problem is once you have that information, the majority of people, I mean, honestly, if we were to put a percentage of it, to it, I mean, even what do you think, Scott? Overall, the majority of entrepreneurs, if you had to put a percentage of people who actually do and implement,
You really want me to, give you a number?
yeah, no, I mean, because I want to see if it matches
I
up
don't
with.
I don't know if I have a number or a percentage, but I will say most. I will say, because if you think about this, and just to kind of put into context, think about how many hundreds upon thousands of people are in programs, right? If you look at the likes of Stu McLaren, who has, thousands and thousands of people in his membership. You think about the likes of Amy Porterfield, who probably has thousands and thousands of members in her memberships. Any of those big names out there, is everyone winning? No. Does everyone have the opportunity and chance to win in those programs? 100%. Now, here's the thing. Nancy and I do this all the time. When we open the doors to our mastermind Expert Authority 3 times per year. The final time is actually coming up in about 8 weeks. About eight-ish weeks, beginning of October. So it's around the corner.
Yeah.
It's about 3 months. And so whenever we have students leaving the program, but also we do retain a fair amount because they want to continue learning from us, because the program does evolve every single year. There's new stuff. So we always do a couple things. Number one, we always send out a feedback form to people that are continuing and are not continuing, and we appreciate the feedback. But if anyone is using any sort of membership site to house their programs, whether it be Kajabi, Kartra, Funnel Gorgeous, anything out there, you can see the progress of your students. And I can, Nancy and I can see this with all of ours. And it's interesting because I don't want to say 9 times out of 10, maybe whatever it is, it's always surprising to us to see people that are doing the do and then the people that are not doing the do. And people know if they are or are not. And I just know that, think about all the people that buy a book and read a book. Think about all the people that listen to a podcast, that they take away all this amazing knowledge, right? Think about all the workshops that people attend. At the end of it, you're going to have a small percentage of people that apply, and then you're going to have a larger contingency that don't. And it always brings up this question, and Nancy and I always ask, why? What is causing someone not to take action, not to apply? I don't know. I wish I had the answer. Go ahead. You want to say it?
Yeah.
Say it.
So, I mean, in general, right? We get caught up with stuff. It's life. It's normal, right? Like, I don't want you guys thinking like we're just we're just sitting here saying like, how dare you? Everything's at your face. Stuff happens, right? Shit happens. Things come up. We get busy. All the things happen. But I posted this quote on my Facebook group the other day, and it was, a month from now, you can either have a month of progress or a month of excuses why you didn't. Okay. And I can't tell you how often I hear the excuses, and I get it, right? Things come up, we get busy, we've got family stuff, we've got, crazy things that pop up. I promise you something will always pop up. Okay. It's a guarantee, whether it be a health thing or a family thing or whatever that. The thing is something will always happen, right? There's never going to be a perfect time in life to start something or to build that business or to do that thing. It's never going to happen. It's cyclical. It's almost like one of those things where it's like, this is going to keep happening until you just decide that you are going to overcome this hurdle and you're going to keep going forward. And one thing that really hit home with me is last month for our book club, right? So in our mastermind, we have a book club, and we read the book, The War of Art, okay, by Steven Pressfield. And if you haven't read that, I highly recommend it. It actually came into my life years ago when I heard an interview that Marie Forleo was doing with someone. And it was asked, hey, Marie, what is the most amazing book, or what is something that has changed your life? And she said, the book, The War of Art, absolutely changed her life. She said it set her on a trajectory of stopping, stopping the excuses and making things happen and putting things into play and no longer using excuses to put them on the back burner. So if you are struggling with that, again, War of Art, it was a great book, great read, talks a lot about resistance and the things that we, really have to face. And, it's really cool because throughout the book, he gives you really great examples and different things in your life that can pop up, right? But we need to overcome those things if we really want to get to where we're going. And this all comes back to application. It all comes back to taking what you are learning. Okay. I know all of you are learning lots. Okay. In fact, it's a very fast-paced world right now, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in sales, whether you're in operations, whether you are in tech. Life is moving fast right now. Okay. And the thing is we are learning a lot, and all of that learning means nothing if we do not actually take what we have learned and we start to implement and we start to apply it. And I also throw this quote out to you guys. I want you to learn to trust yourselves again. I want you to think about next time you go to make an excuse, or next time you go down another rabbit hole, you get the squirrel brain and you're like, oh, I want to go look, do this now. And, oh, you know what? I want to start this business now. Or, oh, I'm going to, switch to this program or this software. I want you to bring it back. And I want to use the word personal mastery. Okay. There's been such a kick. I've been on such a kick lately, is how can you be the best version of yourself? This is in business, in your personal life, with relationships, with others, how can you be the best version? And I promise you, if you were to turn the mirror, okay, and I know a lot of you guys listening, right, are entrepreneurs, you have your own business. I know obviously there's some people who are, working for other people, but if you have your own business, if you were the boss and you looked at your work and what you have accomplished and what you've been doing and what you've applied so far of all the training and all the things that you've been through, would you give yourself a promotion? What kind of review would you give yourself right now? I want you to think about that, because honestly, if I rewind back to when I first started my business and even before I met Scott, I wasn't very good. Okay. I probably wouldn't have got a gold star on my review. I had no set routine. I had no consistent systems in my business. I was flying by the seat of my pants, with a lot of the things that I was doing. And it wasn't until I reeled it in and I wanted to be better and I knew that I wanted my business to be successful. And I finally got into the mentality that I would do anything and I would keep going. I would scrape myself off the floor whenever I just wasn't feeling it. On the days that I don't feel motivated, which guess what, guys? You're not always going to feel motivated. There's going to be days where you're sick of your business, that you don't want to look at social media and you don't want to put yourself out there and you're so just over it. You got to keep powering through. You got to continue to apply and put things into play that you have learned, because otherwise it is all for nothing. Okay. And the harsh truth is you're wasting a lot of time and you're spinning a lot of tires and you're not getting anywhere if you are not taking a break. Okay. We're going to give you a couple tips, right? We usually like to give you tips. And tip number one, I'll just dive right in, is to take a breath, digest what you have learned. I want you guys to really think about this. In the last 3 months, what have you learned? What courses have you taken? What advice have you given? What kind of action plans or goals have you put together? Take a breath and just kind of assess the situation. What can you kind of digest, right, out of all those things that you've been learning? And what are some things that you can start to apply from that? And if it's all garbage and it's been a waste of time, erase that dry erase board. Okay. Erase it. And let's recalibrate and let's get back on track. Because if you're doing a lot of stuff, which I promise you a lot of people are, a lot of stuff that is not moving your business along or not getting that traction that you need, again, you're wasting time. Scott?
Well, before I get to number two, I want to finish with this, with number one. The fact of the matter is that if you thought highly enough to read that book, listen to that podcast, take that course, sign up for that program, hire that coach, and you still don't apply, start taking ownership of what you're not doing. And I think the bigger problem obviously is a lack of application, but it's also on the side of that a lack of taking ownership. And we have to stop pointing the fingers at other people like, oh, it's that coach's fault. Oh, it's that program. Oh, it's that course. Oh, it's that workshop that I took. No, it's you. Because if you think about it, you're the deciding factor of what you will or will not succeed with. So as Nancy said, sometimes you just have to take a step back, digest what you've learned. And if it's in alignment with exactly what it is that you want to do, apply it. It's once you step over that line, going from learning to applying, and you start applying, when you apply something that you learn and you put yourself into action, you're going to see a result. Now, number two, after you take that breath, you digest and apply, then you want to focus and apply. So I'll give you an example. I just did a workshop last week, 4 days. It was connections to clients on LinkedIn. It was a 4-day workshop. So I taught people in this workshop identifying their ideal client and target market, messaging, connecting, and creating content that nurtures them. And what Nancy and I do in every one of our workshops to make sure that people apply, we give them accountability assignments. And it could be as simple as update your profile, connect with 14 people, send 5 messages. I mean, we don't give people rocket science for application. We give people simple things that will move the needle forward. Now, just to kind of give you the numbers, just so going back to something Nancy and I talked about in the very beginning, I think there were 350 people that registered for this workshop. On night number 1, there was 115 people, and then it dropped to 96, 85, and then on the Q&A, which was just a 60-minute Q&A with me, there was about 70 people on there. Now, every day there was a homework assignment, and I would say of the contingency that decided to show, so I'm not even going to take into consideration the 235 people that decided not to show up. I'm going to talk about the 115 people of the 350 that did. Of the 115, I would say about 30% did the homework on average, which is about 35 to 40 people, which is still great. But think about that. There was about a 35 to 40% contingency that did apply and 60% that did not. Now, if we break that down even further, will those people who learned what they learned in the workshop continue to focus and apply? Now, if you make something a habit, if you are consistent with doing something, and you really focus on your goals and continue to apply each and every day, guess what? It becomes a habit. It becomes an automatic thing that you do not even have to think about at this point because A, you've put yourself into action, and B, you're continuing to put yourself in action each and every day. So, number 1, take that breath, digest and apply. Number 2, focus on what you're applying and continue to apply it each and every day. And that brings us to number 3. Nancy?
Yes. So number 3, and I'm actually going to tie this to AI, right? Artificial intelligence a little bit. Number 3 is have a plan. Okay. So this could be have a plan for the start of the week. It could be have a plan of how you're going to take the knowledge, right, that you've been cramming all this time and how you're going to apply it. It could be just a plan for creating maybe some systems in your business to help you out. So I talk about this, and I think it's so incredibly important because, okay, with the technology boom and with the changes that are going on with AI, just as an example, we know for a fact that AI can help skyrocket and really help you move lightning speed towards certain things that used to take us months or even years. Okay. And what I mean by that is, whether it's coming up with topics to create content around, whether it's brainstorming ideas for a book you've always wanted to write, and again, I always say brainstorm because, you're going to be, right. We call it the AI sandwich, right? The AI can help you with the bread, but you got to be the meat in the middle. But AI can help you speed up so many things that once took you so much longer. You want to whip up a business plan or a framework, you can enter in all your information and you can do that now with a quick click of a button. The thing that I'm seeing though is people are still treating, things like ChatGPT or Bard or, Bing or some of the different AI technologies. They're teaching it as almost like a magic trick. Oh, let me show everyone what I can do, but they're not actually applying it purposefully to their business. So I want you to have a plan, right? That's number 3, whenever it comes to applying the new things that you're learning to your business. Okay. If you're going to use AI for your business, how are you going to use it? Right? Reverse engineer some of the things that you guys are doing already. Are you having to write email sequences? Okay. Well, is it something that once a month, you can go in ChatGPT and that could be a system that you can put in place so that it can help you, right? Brainstorm some content for your newsletters that you send out or for your email sequences? Do you need help coming up with content topics for each week? Maybe you want to plan out your content, right? We got summer coming up. Actually, I'm sorry, summer's here. Actually, it's July. So surprise, it's here. Let's say you want to actually plan out your content so that you guys can create the content and you can go and chill on the beach and rest and relax. Okay, cool. Well, if that's going to be part of the process and that's going to be part of the plan, map it out. What does that look like? Does it look like you once a month actually going into ChatGPT, breaking out, all the different pieces of content that you can create and different topics, and mapping all your content out, organizing it, in a nice organized way? I like to use Trello to kind of plan out my content, but whatever works for you. And then you can batch and create all your videos. And again, I keep going back to AI because guys, this is something that, again, we know it's here, it's happening. We know it can help us. It's not supposed to replace you. Okay. People need real, they need you, they need your information. You should still be right, providing that, core foundational content, but you should be using this tool to help make it smoother, make it quicker, streamline your process. But if you're just using it willy-nilly here and there, sporadically, it's not going to be as effective. So I want you guys to, again, tip number 3 is to have a plan with the things that you have in place. It's time to recalibrate, take a minute and take a look at what you're actually spending time on, and make sure that you have a nice, clear plan.
So the big premise of this is to not, because there are so many people, Nancy and I are open to all the changes that are going on right now with AI, with technology. I mean, it's scary for a lot of people. And yeah, there's a lot of things that people are fearful about. And I totally get that. We totally understand where a lot of people are, but you have to lean into that fear. But again, the overarching theme today is we do not have a problem with AI. We do not have a problem with coaches or too many programs or too many podcasts or too many workshops. It's an application problem. And we want that problem to be resolved starting today with all of you. If you find yourselves attending workshops, not applying what you've learned and staying in the same place that you are, if you find yourself listening to podcasts like ours, and we give you tips and things to take away, but you don't apply it. If you're reading those books that maybe we suggest on podcasts or, that you hear from people, and you read that book, but you don't apply anything from it. Again, we got to take ownership for what we are and what we are not doing. But when we clear up this problem of a lack of application of what we've learned, you're going to start to see a lot of people succeeding. You're going to see a lot of people winning at what they're doing because they are moving the needle of their business forward. Nancy, any last thoughts before we end today's episode?
I mean, I can't tell you how excited I get whenever I work with clients and I can see the big picture. I can see that business at the end of the tunnel. I can see the potential. If you just stay on track and you apply all the different things that you've been taught, that you've learned, that are going to move the needle, staying on track. So we just need you guys, to hear this message. And, again, for some, you might be listening and going, I needed this. Okay. For some people, you might be going, I'm a superstar. I'm good. Awesome. Keep up the good work. But I just want you guys to understand that this is so real. It is so normal, right? It is a normal thing. And the majority of entrepreneurs will fail because they don't apply themselves. They do not put things into practice that can help move their business forward, right? Things don't just happen. You don't just snap your fingers and magically your business is successful and, you're bringing in 6 figures in 2 seconds, whatever the people are advertising these days. I mean, we giggle, right? If you want to build a long-term sustainable business, you have to do the daily actions. You have to create the processes and procedures and the systems in your business. You've got to do things consistently and you have to apply yourself. And that's it. And that's what we want to leave you with.
Yep. Mic drop right there. If you guys can see it, we're dropping our mics. Anyway, we hope you guys enjoyed this dual episode. Nancy and I definitely get in these modes and these moods where we want to jump on because we both have something to share. The big message before we leave is that every single one of you listening to this podcast episode has the God-given talent and ability to achieve anything that you want. And when you get out of your own way, you get out of your head and you get into your heart and you really focus on what you want to achieve, anything and everything is possible. So thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. Love and gratitude to each and every one of you, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you everyone for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.